So AEW is not in a good, I guess you could say, place right now. And a lot of people have made the voices clear about that. I mean, just Alex, he did a video on it. You know, you have Salamonster, you have Salamonster, or Salamonster sounds off. You have JD from NY206. You have Andrew Bandela, who does the Tuesday Night Titans along with JD saying it. You got Heel Jesse. You got Good Mic Work. And now you also have Joe Cronin, who did an 8-minute short and entitled it AEW's Dead and Done, which I could assume he did either being a little buzzed or tired, just the way he was talking. But obviously he felt it was probably the best opportunity to get what he felt off his chest about the current status of All Elite Wrestling. But with that said, why is everybody feeling this way? Well, it's real simple. Because they see the potential All Elite Wrestling has. You know, All Elite Wrestling, when they first began, came out and said, hey, we are going to be the alternative to WWE. We're going to be the alternative to all these other wrestling promotions, but mostly WWE, because that's what fans want. And for a time, they would prove it. They would show that they were the alternative by giving us great stories, great characters, and great matches to go along with them, including matches that normally you would say for pay-per-view, they would actually put on television for free. But the difference, I should say, the difference between then and now is the fact that back then, Tony Khan was going up against Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon, and this is the honest truth, and everybody knows it, even though he would claim, hey, I'm doing what I'm doing for the fans, no, Vince McMahon was doing what he was doing for himself. He wasn't doing anything for the fans. He wasn't booking for the fans. He wasn't, creating stories for the fans. He wasn't pushing certain stories for the fans. No, he was doing everything for himself. It was either him or nothing at all. Period. And that's what Tony Khan took advantage of. He saw what Vince was doing and said, hey, I'm going to do the opposite. And fans were starving for a change, that they saw what Tony was doing with AEW and what they were promoting. And they were saying, hey, we're going to go over to AEW and check them out. We're going to go to attend an AEW Dynamite and Rampage and check them out. And that basically led to AEW becoming very successful, very popular in the eyes of a lot of folks. I mean, you cannot talk to a wrestling fan without AEW being on the tip of their tongue and what they had done previously. But now times have changed, and Vince McMahon is no longer running things creatively or bookingly, and instead it's a guy that Tony Khan had basically pushed off, his established night on Wednesday nights, and that's Triple H. And Triple H is the kind of guy that if he did learn anything from Vince, he's the kind of guy that will be out for vengeance. But he won't be out for vengeance in the way Vince would. No. He'll be out for vengeance in a way that basically he's going to show the world that he is everything Tony Khan was afraid he would end up being. That he is a better booker. He's a better creative mind. He's a better storyteller and all that. And that's what Tony Khan did not want to deal with. Which is why I think, and I said it before, Tony Khan is intimidated. He's intimidated by the fact that here's this guy who he pushed off of Wednesday nights, basically pushed off his NXT brand off Wednesday nights because of AEW. And now this guy that he basically bullied or pushed off his established Wednesday nights is out for blood. But he's not out for blood, like I said, in the way Vince would be. He's doing it in a way where he could prove, hey, I could have just as good enough wrestling, in-ring wrestling action like you, but I can also add to it with the characters and stories that accompany it. I can do a better job than you. And again, I think that's what Tony Khan is fearing right now, and I think that's what's throwing him off. And I know that might sound like an excuse, but think about it. When Vince temporarily came back, or at least temporarily started to, basically poke his finger into everything that was going on, even though Triple H was supposed to be the guy running things creatively and bookingly earlier this year. When Vince McMahon was doing that, what happened? Tony Khan saw that, or he heard about it, and said, hey, I'm going to take advantage of that. I'm going to basically take the people that are noticing that, the fans, and I'm going to draw them in. And that's what he did. That's what he did. He basically saw that, hey, basically saw and heard that, hey, Vince is back, and went back to his old ways of saying, hey, I'm going to do the opposite of Vince and fans and draw the fans back in. And for a while, he was being successful again. But then, once more, things changed. And I'm sure he realized that things were going to change when basically Endeavor bought, WWE, and formed it along with UFC into the TKO group. I'm sure he started hearing the rumblings that, oh, Vince is now the executive co-chairman, and everything. And that either A, he's going to gain all the power back that he lost, and it's going to make things easier for Tony to establish AEW as number one, or he heard the potential rumor that Triple H will be taking control creatively and bookingly, and that might be something that he has to prepare for. Well, obviously he didn't prepare, well enough, because guess what? Even though Vince may have still been, pushing, poking his finger into things even during the All-In situation, or during the All-In event that AEW was throwing, if you will, at Wembley Stadium. Even though Vince was kind of still poking his fingers in here and there at times, Tony Khan, what he should have been doing was preparing for the change that was coming on the end of WWE, because he should have been noticing that even though Vince was poking his fingers in here and there, it was more influenced by Triple H. Triple H was giving us more of what he had done previously the year before. Now Tony Khan basically has no one to blame but himself for not doing that, because now, even though, yes, he sold out Wembley Stadium, he broke a legit attendance record at that stadium, for fans being part of the event. But what he should have also been doing was trying to keep that momentum going, and also taking what he's heard about, hey, Triple H is now running things, you better start, taking this stuff seriously, you better start booking things, correctly, you better put a team together and all that. He should have started getting to work on all of that, before, during, and after All In. Even after he had to fire CM Punk, he should have had things, up and running by that time to make sure that AEW would still be selling out venues, of the 10,000, 12,000 seat capacity, or at least get a decent sized crowd in there, and not have to worry about fans coming in with their cameras like this one, or the phone cameras, and filming and putting it on social media half empty, if not less than half empty arenas. Because that's not a good look for your company whatsoever. It's not. It's not a good look, period. He should have been prepping and getting ready for all of this. Now, my honest opinion is I think he's upset. It's not just intimidation. I think it's upsetness that he lost a lot of established stars. Cody, Jade, Brian Pillman Jr., and now CM Punk. And that he's seen how better Triple H is going to treat them and present them as stars and get them prepared to be presented as stars than what he did or what he was used to doing. But yeah, AEW, overall, they're not in a good position right now, but hopefully they can get better. But everything I just mentioned, yeah, that's pretty much why people are upset.